So to make our buttons actually do something, we'll go to our scripts folder and we're going to create a new script, new C# script that we will call main menu, like that, and then we're going to open it up here. And so we know we've got 3 buttons here. And one of the handy things about the way buttons work within Unity is we can create a function in our script and it will be able to access that function straight away without having to do anything crazy. So what we can do is, if we just hit OK here, we're going to create 2 new functions down here. We're going to say public void new game and open and close our little curly brackets. We're going to say public void continue and open our little brackets, and then we'll say public void quit game, like that. Perfect. Okay, so we have these 3 functions now, and what we'll be able to do is hook these up to the buttons so that they know which ones to run. We don't need to name them the same as the buttons or anything like that, because we'll actually be going and assigning them. They won't automatically be taken in or anything like that. So what we'll do is, obviously when we start a new game, we want to start from our very first level. So we will we're going to be able to load into the first level. So to do that, we're going to need to use our scene manager. So much like we did before, to access the scene manager, up above here we need to add using Unity Engine .scene management, and then down under new game we can add scene manager .load scene, and we'll need to obviously have the name of a scene that we want to load. So in the course of our game, the very first level that we want to load could change. I know we're quite simply using level 1 at the moment, but that could change as we go on. So what we want to do is add some strings up here. So we're going to add a public string that we will call our new game. So that'll, we'll call it new game, actually no, it would make more sense to call it the first level, because it's the first level that we want to load into. Okay, and then when we go to continue down here, we're going to want to do the same thing of loading into our level manager instead of the first level. So we'll do here is do a public string level select. Sorry, not level manager, our level select area. Okay, so then when we're loading our first scene here, what we need to do is load whatever we call the first level. We'll do the same thing in our continue down here. We'll do scene manager dot load scene, and we'll put in our level select there. And then finally for our quit game, we're going to use a slightly different thing that we haven't used before, but it's very straightforward. All we type is application dot quit, and what that'll do, that'll just close the game once it's running within your computer. So it won't actually do anything within Unity here, because obviously we don't want Unity to just completely close when we go to quit the game, but when the game is actually built as its own standalone little thing, then it will quit out of the whole thing. So we've set up those few little bits and pieces here. So let's assign them to the buttons and make sure that they're working the way they should be at the moment. So we'll go to our canvas back up here, and on the canvas we're going to attach that script that we just created, rather than attaching it to the buttons themselves. And we'll see why now in a second. So we need the name of the first level that we're going to load into. So let's just go back to our scenes folder so that we get exactly the right name. So we'll type in here level 1, and then level select. We need to get the exact same right name as well here. So we'll type this in, level select, just like that. So now we know that our new game and our continue game will go to the right places. So we have this script attached to our canvas here, and if we go to our new game button, if we scroll down to the bottom, we've got this little box here that says on click, and basically this is what happens whenever we click on the button. So we want this now to be able to actually do something. So what we do is hit this little plus thing, and we get a little box here, and this is basically, we can add a script or add any object that has a script attached to it here, and then we're able to run anything from that script. So we attach the main menu script to our canvas, so we're going to click and drag the canvas into there, and now we get this little drop down, and we can go down and we can, so these are all the components that are attached to our canvas script at the moment. So it's got the canvas, canvas scaler. If we look at canvas here, we have canvas, canvas scaler, graphic raycaster, and our main menu script. So if we go back to the button, so what we want to do is go down to our main menu script and then go to new game, which is the function we created for running this button. So now if we were to hit play now and we hit our new game button, it'll load into our very first level just the way we want it to. Okay, well, we've got no lives, so that's not much use to us, but that's okay. So then on our continue button and our quit button, we want to do the exact same thing. So I just highlight both of them there, and we can hit our little plus symbol and drag our canvas in, and it'll apply the same thing to both of those. And then if we just go back to continue, we can drop down our menu, go to main menu, and then go to continue. And then on quit, we can go to main menu, quit game. So now we've got our three buttons all kind of hooked up. Let's just test and make sure that the continue button is working the exact same. Like I said, we can't actually test the quit game button, but it will work just the way it has before. So our level select brought us into the right level just where we wanted it to. So it makes sense for our level select to bring us into here, and that's all fine and dandy, and our levels are unlocked. But if we were to do the same thing now and go to our new game, our levels will still be unlocked. We haven't actually got anything that's resetting our levels to be locked again. So we need to add a little bit to our script to be able to re-enable them that way. So we'll go back to our main menu script, and basically what we want to do is use an array, much like we used before for finding all the objects that we wanted to respawn within the world after our player died. This time we want to use an array that's going to hold the name of all the levels in our game that we want to make sure are locked when we start the new game. So to create an array, much like we did before, what we do is we go to public up here, and we want an array of strings because we're getting the names of all the levels that we want to make sure are locked. So to make it an array, we put square brackets like that, and we're going to call this array our level names. So now if we save this and just go back in here just to quickly demonstrate it working, we'll go to our canvas. Once it finishes compiling, scroll in here and we get an array here for level names. So let's just add a couple of levels here that we want to make sure are locked. So at the moment we've got 2 levels, so we'll just put the size at 2. Actually we'll put it at 3 because we're going to end up adding a 3rd level soon enough to the game. So we'll just put it at 3 for now. So level 1, we don't actually need to lock level 1 because it's being automatically unlocked as soon as we get to the level select anyway, but we'll put it there for now. It doesn't really make too much difference either way. So what we could do in fact is we could leave this out, and we could modify our script that controls our level select or our level manager to, oh, sorry, no, it is our level select script, isn't it? Which one is it here? It's our level door script, sorry, yes. On our level door script at the very start we have it set in level 1 to always be unlocked. So what we could do is remove that from the script, and then on our canvas here not have level 1 in the options. But for now we'll leave it there, it's absolutely fine. So we'll add level 2 as well, and then finally we're also going to add level 3, because even though it doesn't exist yet, it's perfectly fine to create it here. So what we're going to do is then, we won't do it in our start function or in our update or anything like that, but in our new game. So whenever the player starts a new game, we want to basically just go through that whole array and say, okay, so level 1, so we want to set the player prefs of level 1 to be 1 so that it's unlocked, because we know that we had 0 for it to be locked and 1 for it to be unlocked. Oh sorry, no, we don't want to set it to be 1 to be locked, we want to set it to be 0 so that all the levels are locked again. So what we'll do here is we're going to use a for loop again, just like we did when we went through restarting all the objects. We're going to use a for loop to go through all of these in the array and set them to be 0. So we're going to say for, and then we've got 3 things at the start of our for loop again to set it in motion. So we need to pick a base number to use. So again we're going to use int I equals 0. So we're starting at 0, and then while I is less than our level names dot length, while that is true, then the update we want to use is I++. So we'll put our squiggly brackets, and just again, the way it will work is it will start at 0. We'll check is 0 less than the length of the level names, which is 3. If that's true, then it'll run whatever code we have in here, and then it'll add on 1 to I. So I++ equals is the same as saying I plus 1. So it'll add on 1, it'll go to here, so then I will be 1 now, and is 1 less than 3? Yes, it is, obviously, so we'll run the code again, and so on until we get to be 3, and then level names is not 3 is not less than 3, so we won't run the code again, and we'll continue on with the rest of our script. So what are we going to do in the middle here? Well, basically what we're going to do is, okay, so what we'll take is, we want to take the current level name, so that'll be level 1, and we want to assign a player prefs of that, and we want to put it to be 0. So we can go here and say player prefs, and then in a bracket, so the name we want to use, oh sorry, not the bracket, we need to set an int. So player prefs.setInt, and then in the bracket here, we need the name of the player prefs we want to use. So on the first loop around, that'll be level 1. So we will say our level names at position I. So the first time around, that'll be level name 0, which will be 0 here, which will be level 1. And then on the second time around, when our value is 1, it'll be in level names 1, which will be element 1 here, so that'll be level 2, and so on. So we'll have level names dot, sorry, we don't need to say dot anything, so that'll just be the actual name there, and then the value we want to give it is 0, like that, and then we hit our semicolon. And that's all we need to do, because then it'll just keep looping around those things, and it'll work just the way we want it to. Okay, and there's one other thing we want to do in our new game here, which is set that when we start a new game, obviously we want our players' lives to be at 3, the same we start off with, and we want our coin count to be 0. So we'll add those in here after our for loop. We'll say player prefs dot set int, and we'll set our coin count to be 0, and then player prefs dot set int player lives, and instead of giving that a specific value, although we're using 3 at the moment, we could want to change that, so we're going to use a value up here that we can change nice and easily. So we'll just say public int starting lives here. Now obviously we want this to be the same as what our level manager contains, so if we do make a difference to this, we want to make sure and make the update to our level manager in our starter pack and make sure that we apply those changes, but we'll stick with our 3 for now anyway. So we have our starting lives here, so we're going to use that value for our playing lives. So starting lives like that, hit our semicolon, and then we can save that and go back into the game. So let's test all this out to make sure it's working just the way we want it to. So we saw in our level manager, our level select scene, that our lives were being reset, or our doors were being currently set to be open, and we've only got 1 life left in the game. So if we were to load up that scene again, just go to level select here, just to verify that that is still what's happening. If we hit play, we should see, yeah. So our 2 levels are unlocked and our lives are at 1. So if we start a new game, we should know that our lives now get reset back to 3, and our levels should be locked back up. So let's hit play here, and we won't actually want to continue or to complete the first level, so I'm just going to hit new game here. So we're down to our last life here, and rather than completing the level, because if we complete the level, that will unlock the next area, instead of completing it, I'm actually just going to stop running this now and go to our level select by itself. And now if we hit play, our lives are set to 0 because I didn't reset the value actually in our main menu, but that's okay. But we'll see that our level 2 is now locked just the way we want it to be, and our level 1 is unlocked because level 1 is default unlocked by the whole level door script. So if we go back to our main menu, I knew there was something weird. I was having a mind blank for a second, but it's because we didn't set our starting lives to be 3. So now when we actually start the game again, if we go to new game, here. Once it loads, there we go. We got lives, tree. So perfect, that's exactly what I want to happen. And now if we go past our flag and walk along like this, we'll go into our level select area, and level 2 will be unlocked. So perfect. And just to demonstrate that it's not going too crazy, let's go to our level select and we'll actually create a door tree for level 3, even though it doesn't exist in the game yet. So let's just hide our UI again, and we'll zoom in on the ground here, and we're going to duplicate one of these doors, drag it over to the side, and we will give it the text level 3, and then on the level door script we want to say the level to load is level 3. So now if we were to play the game, level 3 should remain unlocked because we haven't unlocked that at all, and level 2 is unlocked. So perfect. So we know our little resetting of the levels is working perfectly fine for us, and our main menu is working exactly the way we want to. So let's take a look at adding some more menu stuff to the game.